When the auction ended, the untamable alien girl was left behind, until one human raised his hand. The night was heavy with whispers and the smell of fear. The great auction hall stood in silence, its iron walls echoing the sharp clang of a bell. The last sale of the evening was about to begin. Traders, mercenaries, and warlords filled the dark seats, their eyes hungry for rare prizes. They had seen weapons, artifacts, and creatures dragged across the stage. All had been sold. All had been claimed. Except one. At the center of the hall stood a single cage. Its bars glowed with faint energy, humming with power. Inside, chained with glowing cuffs around her wrists, was a tall alien girl. Her eyes glowed like burning embers, and her long silver hair fell wild over her face. Muscles rippled under her skin as she paced the cage like a beast. The auctioneer, a fat alien with 3 eyes, raised his voice. And now, the final lot of the evening. She is called untamable, dangerous, a curse to any who claim her. Entire crews have fallen trying to control her. Many buyers tried before, but they all returned her, broken, half dead. None survived her wrath for long. A murmur spread across the room. The alien girl lifted her head slowly, her sharp gaze sweeping over the crowd. Everyone who met her eyes quickly looked away. She snarled, rattling her chains so hard that sparks flew from the energy cuffs. Her growl rolled across the hall like thunder. No one spoke. No one dared. The auctioneer slammed his staff on the platform. She will serve no master. She listens to no order. She has bitten through steel, and her roar can freeze soldiers in their tracks. Who dares to claim her? Silence. Only silence. Bidders who had fought over lesser creatures now sat still. Some shook their heads. Others leaned back in fear. One man whispered, "She's not worth the risk. She'll kill anyone who touches her." Another spat on the floor. "Let her rot in that cage. She is no prize, only death." The auctioneer's smile faded. For the first time that night, his booming voice trembled. "No one? After all this?" He spread his arms wide, desperate to sell the last lot. "She is strong enough to tear through armies. She could be yours." Still, no hand rose. The alien girl threw her head back and laughed, the sound wild and terrifying. "Pathetic," she hissed. "None of you have courage. None of you deserve me." Her voice was deep, filled with rage and pride. A heavy silence fell. The auctioneer was about to slam the gavel and end the sale. The cage would be wheeled away, locked again for another hopeless attempt on another day. But then, a single voice spoke. "I'll pay for her." Every head turned. From the shadows at the back of the hall, a human stood. He was not rich like the warlords, not armored like the mercenaries, just an ordinary figure, calm and steady, his dark coat brushing the ground as he stepped forward. His face was unreadable, his eyes locked on the alien girl. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "A human? Is he insane?" Someone whispered. "He'll be dead before dawn," another muttered. "Madness, pure madness." The auctioneer blinked in disbelief. You wish to buy her? You understand what she is? You understand what she will do to you?" The human's voice was calm. "Yes, I'll take her." The alien girl froze inside the cage, her burning eyes fixed on him. She tilted her head slightly, almost curious. Then she laughed again, but this time softer, darker. "Foolish human," she growled. "Do you even know what you've done?" The hall erupted with whispers and laughter. Many called him crazy. Others leaned closer, eager to see blood, but the human did not waver. He placed the credits down with a steady hand, ignoring the mocking eyes around him. The auctioneer's staff slammed down with a sharp crack. "Sold! To the human!" Chains rattled as guards approached the cage, their hands trembling as they prepared to drag the alien girl out. She didn't resist, not yet. She only watched the human with a strange, unreadable expression, half fury, half intrigue. As she stepped down from the cage, Her voice cut through the noise. "You will regret this. Before the sun rises, you will beg to let me go." The human met her gaze and said nothing. His silence was stronger than any boast. The hall whispered in fear and wonder. None could understand why he did it. None could guess what was coming. But one thing was certain: the story had only just begun. And as the scene faded, the narrator's voice spoke gently. "Friends, this is only the beginning of a tale filled with danger, mystery, and choices that will change everything. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss what happens next." The cage was empty now. The untamable alien girl was free, and the human who bought her had no idea what awaited him in the dark hours ahead. The auction hall slowly emptied, but the whispers followed him like shadows. Every step the human took toward the stage, every echo of his boots against the cold metal floor, was watched by eyes filled with disbelief. The alien girl, still bound in her glowing chains, was pulled forward by trembling guards. She walked with her head high, silver hair falling over her sharp face, eyes locked only on the human. Her movements were not of a prisoner, they were of a predator studying her prey. The guards flinched as her cuffs sparked against the chains. "Careful," one muttered. "She can snap a man's neck before he blinks." Another whispered, "Why didn't he just let her rot?" The human said nothing. He carried no weapon, no shield, nothing that could make sense in this place of danger. And yet, his calm presence seemed heavier than steel. The auctioneer leaned forward, his voice dripping with mockery. "Human, do you have any idea what you've purchased? She is no pet. She is no servant. She will bite through your throat the moment you loosen her chains." The crowd laughed cruelly. Some shouted, "Let's watch! Free her now! Let's see how long you last!" Others threw bets onto the floor, wagering how many hours he would survive. But the human's eyes never left hers. "I'll take her," he repeated, his voice steady. The alien girl tilted her head, almost amused. "Strange," she whispered. The others looked away. They feared me. You dare to look at me like I'm not a beast." She yanked her chain suddenly, testing him. Sparks lit the air, guards stumbling back in fear. But the human didn't move. His hands rested at his sides, calm, controlled. A smile tugged at her lips, sharp and dangerous. "Do you know what they call me?" The human silence answered her. "They call me untamable," she hissed. "They call me death wrapped in flesh. I was raised in the blood pits, Trey. Ned to fight, to kill, to tear armies apart. I do not serve. I do not kneel. I do not obey." The guards shivered. Even the auctioneer stepped back. But the human simply spoke, low and quiet. "Then why are you still in chains?" The alien girl froze. For a moment her fire dimmed. Her eyes narrowed, studying him like a puzzle. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever dared to question her power. The crowd's laughter died. Whispers filled the hall again. "What did he just say? Did you hear him? Is he mocking her? Or does he know something we don't?" The auctioneer slammed his staff nervously. "Enough! Take her and leave before she tears this place apart." The guards dragged her forward, but each step she took was deliberate. She didn't resist. She didn't fight. Instead, her eyes never left the human's face. "You interest me," she finally murmured. "But interest does not mean mercy. You will not break me. No one ever has." The human walked ahead, unafraid, leading the way to the transport ship waiting outside. The hall doors groaned open, letting in the chill of night air. The stars above stretched wide, cold and endless, as the alien girl stepped out of the cage for the first time in years. The warlords and merchants crowded the balconies, leaning over to watch. Some sneered, others whispered bets, many waited for screams, for blood. But there was only silence. The human guided her through the shadows, his pace steady. Behind them, the auctioneer's voice echoed faintly. "Fool, you have paid for your death." As they reached the ship, the alien girl stopped suddenly. Her chains clinked softly as she turned to him. "Human," she whispered, her voice low, dangerous, but curious. "Why did you pay for me? You saw their fear. You heard their warnings. You must know I will not serve you. So tell me, why?" The human finally spoke again, his voice quiet but unshaken. "Because everyone else saw a weapon. I saw something more." Her eyes widened slightly. It was not fear, not anger, but something else, a spark of confusion, a feeling she had not known in years. Then she laughed, soft and dark. "Interesting, very interesting. Let us see if your courage survives the night." The ship door closed with a heavy hiss. The engines roared to life, carrying them into the stars. Inside, silence hung heavy between them, chains rattling faintly in the dim light. She sat across from him, eyes glowing, studying, waiting. Outside the auction hall, the crowd whispered long into the night. Some mocked the human, others pitied him, but none could deny one truth. For the first time, the untamable alien girl had not resisted. And that was more terrifying than anything. The transport ship hummed as it left the black skies of the auction world behind. Stars stretched like silver scars across the window. But inside the cabin, the silence was sharp enough to cut. The human sat on one side, steady and calm. Across from him, the alien girl sat chained, her glowing cuffs faintly crackling as if hungry to break. She leaned back against the metal wall, her piercing eyes never leaving his face. The guards who had escorted them had already left. Only the two remained, a predator and, perhaps, a fool. For long minutes, she said nothing. The sound of engines filled the air. The weight of her stare pressed heavy, but the human did not flinch. Finally, her lips curved into something between a smile and a snarl. "Strange," she whispered. "Most men who sat this close to me begged for their lives. Do you not value yours?" The human did not answer. His silence irritated her. Her chains rattled as she leaned forward, her glowing eyes narrowing. "Why don't you speak? Do you think ignoring me will make me less dangerous?" He calmly met her gaze. "No," he said at last. "I think you already know what you are." Her jaw clenched. For a moment she almost lunged, the chain sparking as her muscles tightened, but she stopped. Something about his words made her pause. "What I am?" she repeated slowly, her voice cold. "Tell me, human, what do you think I am?" He didn't answer immediately. He looked out the window, watching the endless dark. Then he said quietly, "Not a monster, not a weapon. You're more than what they made you." Her chest rose sharply. Her nails scraped against the metal cuffs. His words were too strange, too dangerous. No one had ever said that to her before. For years, she had been sold as destruction, raised in cages, thrown into arenas, forced to fight until blood filled the ground. Everyone who looked at her saw the same thing, a beast, a tool, a killer. But this human... She leaned back again, tilting her head, studying him with new curiosity. "You're either very wise or very stupid." The human allowed the faintest shadow of a smile. "Maybe both." Silence fell again, but it was not the same silence. It carried weight now, questions unspoken, dangers untested. Her chains clinked softly as she shifted. The light of the cabin painted her silver hair in cold fire. "You know," she said, her voice low, "if I wanted to kill you, these chains would not stop me. They have not stopped me before." He nodded calmly. "I know." She narrowed her eyes. "And yet you unlocked them earlier." He didn't move, didn't blink. Yes. Why? She demanded. Why would you give me that chance? His voice was steady, almost too quiet. Because chains don't change what someone is. They only hide it. Her breath caught for just a second. Her fingers brushed the cuffs, her mind suddenly full of memories, of cages, whips, and eyes filled with fear. She had been called untamable so many times that she wore it like armor. But this man's words pierced deeper than chains ever had. She laughed suddenly, though the sound was sharp and bitter. You're bold, human, I'll give you that. But bolden, this is not enough to survive me. He leaned back, unshaken. We'll see. The engines roared louder as the ship cut through the void. Outside, silence stretched forever. Inside, tension coiled tighter. At last, she spoke again, her voice softer. You haven't answered me. Why did you buy me? The human turned, his eyes steady. Because no one else would. Her eyes widened slightly. She expected greed or madness or cruelty. She expected him to say he wanted power, control, or revenge. But not this. Never this. She laughed again, but this time the sound was less sharp, more unsettled. So pity is your reason? No, he replied. Hope. Her smile faded. For the first time, the word left her unsettled. Hope. It was not a word she understood. It was not a word she trusted. She leaned back, silent, her mind racing. She hated the word, but she hated more how it made her heart beat faster. The journey stretched on. Minutes passed, then an hour. Neither spoke again. Yet in that silence, something began to change. The crowd at the auction had whispered that the human was doomed, that he had bought his death, that she would tear him apart before the sun rose. But now, as the ship moved deeper into the night, she wondered something she had never wondered before. What if, for the first time, she didn't want to? The transport ship landed with a low metallic thud, dust rising in the cold night air of a remote outpost world. The stars above were sharp, silent witnesses to what was about to unfold. The alien girl stepped off the ramp slowly, her chains rattling faintly, her sharp eyes scanning the barren land. The human walked ahead, his pace steady, never rushing, never hesitating. His safe house waited at the edge of a rocky plain, an old building, small and simple, its walls weathered by storms and time. No guards, no weapons, no fortress walls, only silence. The alien girl laughed softly. So this is where you plan to keep me? A weak hut on a dying rock? How fragile, how foolish. He opened the door, without answering, stepping inside. She followed, her glowing eyes flicking across the room. No cages, no shackles on the walls, just a table, a fire pit, and a bed pushed into the corner. She narrowed her eyes suspiciously. Where is my prison? The human turned calmly. There is none. Her chains crackled faintly as she stepped closer. You dare to think I will not tear you apart? Do you think this kindness will tame me? He met her gaze without fear. If I thought kindness could tame you, I would not have bought you. I don't want a servant. I want truth. Her jaw tightened. His words struck harder than chains. Truth? What truth? He turned away, setting a pot above the fire pit. Flames lit the room, casting shadows across her silver hair. The scent of food filled the air slowly, something simple, warm. Her nostrils flared. She hadn't smelled cooked food in years. Cages only offered scraps, raw, cold, tasteless. Yet here he was, cooking for her like she was more than a weapon. He placed the bowl near her and sat back down, saying nothing. She stared at it, suspicion and hunger battling in her chest. You think I will eat this? That I will trust it isn't poisoned? His voice was calm. Eat or don't. The choice is yours. For long moments, she didn't move. Her chains rattled softly as she crouched, picking up the bowl. The warmth seeped into her hands. Her glowing eyes flicked toward him. He wasn't even watching her. He simply sat by the fire, silent. She ate, slowly at first, then faster, then with a hunger she hated showing. When she finished, she set the bowl down with a sharp clatter. "Do not mistake this for gratitude," she hissed. "I have taken from my enemies before." The human finally looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Then consider me your enemy." Her heart skipped. She wasn't sure why those words unsettled her more than kindness ever could. The night deepened. The fire cracked, shadows dancing along the walls. The human lay back on the bed, eyes closing, as if unafraid of the deadly creature sharing the room. The alien girl remained standing, chains glowing faintly, her sharp gaze locked on him. This was her chance. He was unarmed, vulnerable. A single move, and his throat could be open before he even woke. The auctioneer had been right. She was untamable. This was who she was. Her muscles tightened, her breath grew heavy. She stepped closer, but then she stopped. His breathing was calm, steady, as if he trusted her more than the chains. No one had ever done that. No one had ever closed their eyes in her presence without fear. Her claws twitched. Her mind screamed at her to strike. But her chest burned with a strange, unwelcome feeling, confusion. Why wasn't she killing him? Why was she hesitating? The fire cracked again. She backed away slowly, sitting in the corner, her chains clinking against the wall. She pulled her knees up, her glowing eyes never leaving his sleeping form. For the first time in years, she did not sleep in rage. She did not dream of blood. Instead, she sat in silence, her mind full of questions. What kind of human was this? Why had he bought her? Why did he see more in her than chains and death? The night stretched long, shadows crept across the floor, and though she promised herself she would not care, she watched him breathe until the dawn light touched the edges of the window. And deep inside, though she would never admit it, a single thought haunted her. She was supposed to be untamable. But why then did this human make her doubt it? The first rays of dawn crawled through the cracks of the safe house walls, painting faint gold lines across the floor. The fire had long burned out, leaving only cold ashes behind. The alien girl sat in silence, her knees pulled to her chest, her glowing eyes fixed on the human who still slept as if danger did not exist. He should have been dead. The thought gnawed at her mind. She had watched him sleep all night. Every rise and fall of his chest, every chance she had to strike. Her claws could have ended him in a heartbeat, but she hadn't moved. Why didn't I? She wondered. She rose slowly, her chains rattling softly in the still air. Her sharp gaze swept the room again. No guards, no weapons pointed at her, no prison walls. Nothing held her here except the faint glow of the cuffs and his strange, maddening calm. She stepped toward the door. The air was cold against her skin, the metal beneath her feet groaning softly. Her claws brushed the handle. It was unlocked. Her eyes widened slightly. Unlocked. Her heart beat faster. This was the test. No cage, no guard, nothing to stop her. If she wanted freedom, all she had to do was walk through this door and vanish into the wilds beyond. She pushed it gently. The hinges creaked, letting a thin line of morning light spill inside. And yet, she didn't move. Her eyes flicked back to the bed. The human still lay there, one arm across his chest, his face calm, untroubled. He had left the door open to her. He had left his life in her hands. Her throat tightened. She clenched the door harder. She should run. She should escape. That was what she was, untamable. No chains could bind her, but her legs did not move. She slammed the door shut suddenly, the sound echoing through the safe house. The human stirred, his eyes opening slowly. He looked at her, not with fear, but with the same calm steadiness as before. "You could have left," he said simply. Her glowing eyes narrowed. "And you knew that. You wanted me to try." He sat up, his voice even. "No, I wanted you to decide." Her chains crackled as she stepped closer, anger burning in her chest. "You play games with me, human. Do you think trust will change what I am? Do you think leaving the door open makes me yours?" He shook his head slowly. "Not mine, your own." Her breath caught. She hated how his words struck her. They were not chains, yet they bound her tighter than any prison. She snarled, stepping back, her claws sparking against the cuffs. "You speak like you know me. You don't. You can't. I was born for blood. I was trained for war. I am untamable. That is all I will ever be." He stood now, meeting her gaze head on. "If that's true, then why are you still here?" Her chest rose sharply, her claws trembled, rage boiled inside her, but beneath it something worse, doubt. Why was she still here? Why hadn't she left when she had the chance? Why hadn't she killed him? She turned sharply, pacing the room like a caged beast, though no cage held her. "You think you're clever. You think your calm will break me, but I will not kneel. I will not obey." He didn't answer. He simply began preparing food again, his movements unshaken. The smell of cooking filled the air once more, warm and maddening. She glared at him, her glowing eyes burning. "You confuse me, human, and I do not like being confused." He placed a second bowl on the table. "Then stay confused. It means you're thinking." Her jaw clenched. Her chains rattled as she stormed toward the far wall, slamming her fists against it hard enough to leave cracks. The sound thundered through the small house. But when she finally turned back, breathing heavy, her eyes found him again. Calm, silent, waiting. It infuriated her, and yet it unsettled her more than rage ever could. That night, she did not sit in the corner like before. She sat closer to the fire, her eyes fixed on the human as he rested. She told herself it was so she could watch him more carefully. She told herself it was because she wanted to see the moment his weakness slipped, but deep inside, she knew the truth. The door had been open, freedom had been hers, and yet she had chosen to stay. The third night fell heavy on the outpost world. The stars above shimmered cold and endless, but inside the safe house, the air burned, thick with tension. The alien girl sat by the fire, her chains coiled loosely at her wrists, faint sparks dancing across the cuffs. She hadn't tried to escape again, not last night, not tonight, and she hated herself for it. The human sat across from her, quiet as always. He stirred the fire with a piece of scrap wood, his face calm in the glow. She watched him for a long time before breaking the silence. "Enough of this game. Why? Why did you buy me? Why risk your life for someone they called untamable? Tell me, human, what is it you really want?" His eyes lifted to hers, steady as stone. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." Her lips curled into a sharp grin. "Try me." He leaned back slightly, the shadows wrapping his face. "I was there," he said quietly. "The day your kind first came to fight us." Her breath stilled. "I saw the war," he continued, his voice low. "I saw your people tear through soldiers, crush machines, burn cities. Everyone saw monsters. Everyone saw beasts with no soul. But I—" He paused, staring into the fire. "I saw something different." Her glowing eyes narrowed. "And what did you see?" He looked up, meeting her gaze directly. "I saw fear, not ours, yours, behind the fury, behind the claws and fire. I saw people forced into chains, forced to fight wars that weren't their own. I saw eyes that didn't want to kill, but had no choice." Her heart slammed against her chest. She wanted to laugh, to spit, to deny it, but the words tangled in her throat. "No," she growled. "We were made for war. We were born for blood." He shook his head. "No one is born for chains." The words cut deeper than any blade. Her claws scraped the floor as she clenched her fists. The fire's glow flickered against her trembling form. She remembered the blood pits, The endless battles, the voices shouting untamable, weapon, beast. She remembered tearing apart enemies until the ground ran red. And yet, she remembered something else too. Nights staring at the stars through the cracks of a cage, wondering if her life was more than violence, wondering if freedom was ever real. Her chest burned with rage, but not at him, at the truth in his words. "You think you know me, human?" she hissed. "But you don't. You can't." "Then tell me I'm wrong," he said softly. Her jaw clenched. Her chains rattled violently as she rose, towering over him, her shadow swallowing the firelight. "Do not test me. I could kill you where you sit." He didn't move, didn't flinch. "Then do it." The words froze her. His eyes burned with steady defiance. No fear, no trembling, just a challenge sharper than any blade. Her claws hovered inches from his throat, sparks snapping against the air. The fire roared, casting their shadows long against the walls. Her breath came in ragged bursts, her body screaming to strike. But she couldn't. Her claws trembled, her chest heaved, and for the first time in her life, her strength betrayed her. She pulled back sharply, snarling in fury. "Why? Why can't I kill you?" The human leaned forward slightly, his voice low but unshaken. "Because you were never a monster. You've just been treated like one." Her knees almost buckled. She turned away, slamming her chains against the wall so hard the room shook. Sparks rained to the ground. Her roar split the night sky, a sound of rage, pain, and something else, something far more dangerous. Silence followed, heavy, suffocating silence. She collapsed against the wall, her chest rising and falling, her silver hair falling wild across her face. Her glowing eyes glistened, not with fury this time, but with something she didn't want him to see. The human didn't move closer. He didn't need to. His words still echoed in her mind, clawing at the armor she had built all her life. And deep inside, a crack had formed. For the first time, the untamable alien girl wasn't sure who she was. The night outside was quiet. Too quiet. The alien girl sat near the fire, her chains faintly glowing, her heart still heavy with the human's words. His calm, his defiance, his refusal to see her as only a monster. Those words had unsettled her more than any cage ever could. But silence never lasted long. A sudden crash split the darkness. The safe house walls trembled as something heavy slammed against the door. Sparks flew, wood cracked, and a deep metallic voice boomed from outside. "Step aside, human. The girl belongs to us." The alien girl's head snapped up, her glowing eyes narrowing. She knew that voice. Bounty hunters. The ones who had chased her across systems, who had dragged her from pit to pit. They had come to reclaim their weapon. The human stood calmly, slipping his coat on, his hand brushing the door. He didn't flinch. The door burst open, metal screeching, and armed figures poured inside, helmeted, armored, rifles glowing with plasma. Their eyes locked on her immediately. "There she is," one snarled. "Untamable savage beast. Chain her, kill the human." The alien girl surged to her feet, chains sparking like lightning. Her claws flexed, her muscles coiled, but her heart pounded with something new. Choice. She could run. She could let them take the human, as they had taken so many others. It wasn't her fight. It never had been. But when the first bounty hunter raised his rifle at the human, something snapped inside her. Her roar split the air, louder than thunder, shaking the very walls. In one movement, her chains shattered, the glowing cuffs exploding into sparks. She lunged forward, claws slicing through metal armor, sending the first bounty hunter crashing into the ground. The others shouted in panic, "Contain her! Don't let her—" But it was too late. She moved like fire, untamed and furious, tearing through their ranks. Plasma bolts sizzled past her, but she dodged. With deadly speed, her strength ripping rifles from hands, her fury shattering helmets like glass. And yet, Something was different this time. She wasn't fighting for survival. She wasn't fighting for their entertainment. She wasn't fighting because she was forced. She was fighting because they threatened him. The human had not moved, his calm eyes following her as chaos erupted around them. He reached only to pull a small blade from his coat, defending himself when one hunter drew too close. But most never reached him. She made sure of it. The last bounty hunter stumbled back, helmet cracked, voice trembling. She's protecting him. That's impossible. She doesn't protect anyone. Her glowing eyes blazed as she towered over him, claws raised. You were wrong, she growled. I was never untamable. I was never yours. With a final strike, the hunter fell, the silence of the safe house returning. Smoke curled through the broken door. The floor was littered with shattered armor and smoldering weapons. The alien girl stood panting, blood and sparks dripping from her claws. Slowly, she turned. Her eyes found the human. For a long moment, she said nothing. She expected fear in his face, expected him to recoil, to see her as the monster everyone else did, but he only met her gaze, calm and steady as ever. She stepped closer, her chains gone, her freedom real for the first time in years. Her voice was low, trembling in a way it never had before. Why? Why do you not fear me? The human's answer was simple. Because you're more than they ever let you be. Her throat tightened. She wanted to deny it, to scream, to run, but instead she whispered something she had never spoken before. You saved me. Not with chains, not with power, with truth. For the first time, her fire dimmed, not in weakness, but in something far stronger. She lowered her claws slowly, her gaze softening. You were the only one who saw me, she said, her voice quiet, almost fragile. Not as a weapon, not as a beast, as me, the us. The human gave a faint smile. And you chose to fight, not because you had to, because you wanted to. That is freedom. She stood in silence, the weight of his words sinking deep. She had thought herself untamable, a beast forged for blood. But in this moment she realized something terrifying and beautiful. He was right. The fire crackled. The night outside was quiet once more. But inside the safe house, something had changed forever. The untamable alien girl had found her first bond. And the human who dared to buy her had no idea that their story, of battles, of choices, of something far greater, was only just beginning.